Hi, I'm Nature, and I'm going to show you how to become a spiritual drummer. Holding the sticks. Now it's really important to hold the sticks correctly, and when you're starting, if you're a beginner, you want to get into practicing good habits. Now here's the basic thing to do. This is called the fulcrum, between your fourth finger and your thumb. And basically what you do is you put it between that joint right there in your finger and your thumb, and you gently wrap the rest of your hand around the stick. You see? Same thing in your right hand that you do in your left hand. Fulcrum, and then you gently wrap your fingers around the stick. And that's the correct way of holding the sticks. And this is called match grip. Okay, I want to show you the exercises in the book, and basically this is the first one. It's called the single stroke roll. Now what you want to do is basically, you'll see underneath the exercise that it has right, left, so you want to do a right, left pattern. And I would suggest that you, if you don't have one already, purchase a little metronome, which will give you good time, because if you want to play in a band or in an orchestra or in any musical setting with other musicians, you'll want to have correct, good timing. Otherwise, they probably won't hire you. If you're speeding up and going fast and slow and fast and slow, it needs to be real steady. So this metronome will help you to do that. So let's practice exercise 1 with the metronome. Okay, that's it. Now, what you do in your right hand, you should also be able to do in your left hand. So what I'd like you to do is to practice this single stroke roll, exercise 1, with your left hand too, starting with the left hand. This is exercise 2, the double stroke roll. Basically, you want to do the same thing as you did with the other hand, with the first single stroke roll, and that is to start with your right hand. But this, instead of alternating sticks, right, left, what you're going to do now is you're going to play with right, left, like this. And the same thing that you do with your left hand, you want to do with your right hand too. So let's start with the left and do the same thing with your metronome. This is called the 5-stroke roll. It's one of the most important rolls in the rudiment series, and there's 26 rudiments. In my book, I'm just showing you some of the rudiments, maybe 8 or 10 of them. But this is one of the most important ones, and this is called the 5-stroke roll. You want to start with your right hand and basically count to 5. Here's what it looks like. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What I'd like to show you is the 7-stroke roll. Same idea really as the 5-stroke, but it's 7 beats. And it looks like this. You want to start with the right hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's important to count these rolls when you first start, and afterwards, as you play them and play them, they'll become ingrained in your sort of mind's eye, and you won't have to count out loud. But when you first start, you want to count out loud. I'd like you to also play that with left hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 9 stroke. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Paradiddle. Paradiddle is a fun one. That's it's kind of a, I'd say, pretty much a standard amongst the rolls. So here it is. And the flam is a very important rudiment, and this is how it's played. This is a right-handed flam. And here's a left-handed flam. And you can also alternate the flams. Remember, whenever you can play in the right hand, be able to also play in your left hand. So here's alternating flams. Basically, the orchestra roll, or closed roll, is a very important rudiment, and it's a very important part of being a spiritual drummer, because you probably heard this in either practical popular music or in the orchestra. This is the closed or orchestra roll. Now the way to achieve that is to start very simply, very slowly with rebounds. And when you rebound, basically is what you do is you let the stick bounce twice and you catch it. You see? Now you can do that with your left hand too. And if you alternate hands, this is the way it looks. Now if I increase the tempo of that, I'll achieve a orchestra roll. Letting the stick bounce twice. And that's your closed or orchestra roll. Well, you're probably wondering what's so spiritual about drumming. I mean, it's just something that we do, right? Well, the thing is the spiritual part about drumming is that it requires devotion, and that is devotion to practicing. And I'll tell you, most of the professional guys, they practice 4 hours, 8 hours a day, and it requires spirit. In other words, the spirit in me is, there wouldn't be any way of me to play if I didn't have a spirit. So the spirit I have allows me to play, and the practice, which I certainly encourage you all to do, requires time and discipline and devotion. Okay, practicing is something that I would suggest doing every day. And there's some things about practicing. I mean, I remember when I was in like apartments, in San Francisco, living there for a while, and even in LA, people, complaining, knocking on the door or leaving little notes and saying, be quiet or something like that. But the thing is, the best thing to do with practicing, the best time to practice is in the afternoon, between like 1 and 4, before dinner time and after lunch. And it's the more important, it's the most, I think, the best time to practice. Now, if you're in a soundproof room, of course, say you have a little cabin or something in a remote area, you can practice at any time. But say you're in an apartment building and you have a lot of neighbors around you and they want it quiet at a certain time, well, that's the best bet. That's the way you'll get the least amount of complaints, I guess, to practice between in the afternoon. And every day for at least a little while, I'd say an hour a day is a good time. And if you're, fortunate enough to find a place that is away from everyone, it wouldn't bother you, and then, you can practice till 2 in the morning if you want to. But the best time to practice is between 1 and 4. Okay, so these little puppies right here are some examples of some portable things that you can do to practice. Now, if you have a snare drum, if you're practicing that in a small apartment next to somebody, that might be a little annoying to them. So get a practice pad. I mean, these things are probably around $5 or $7. They're not very expensive, and they're very quiet. You can see that this is, that's not too loud. So that's the main. And the thing is, if you say you go on vacation, you can take your sticks and pad with you, and you can practice, on vacation. And it's very, very light, doesn't cost very much. And this old pad here actually is something I got in the 1970s, it's from, I think it was Pro Drum Shop in Hollywood. This is an old version. Actually, some of these come on stands and they tilt them at the side, but this is a Spectrum sound. And this one's very nice because it has, I think it has a nice sound. It has a nice clear sound. You can do a lot of nice things on it and play around. But I think these other ones are probably really much more portable. I think this one would probably run you $30, $40, whereas these are $7 or $5 to $7. And I wanted to share with you something that you can do in your vehicle while you're traveling, or just when the car is still, is to play drums on the steering wheel. It's like sort of, you can use the brake and the throttle as like a bass drum or snare drum, but I want a word of caution that when you're doing this while you're driving, please keep your eye on the road so you won't, so you'll be cautious to not have an accident or anything. But it's really fun. You can play the horn and do accents and things and play the drums in the car. So just wanted to share that with you and hope that works for you. Well, even the cell phone can be a little percussion instrument. You can just play it and work around there and sort of the whole body really can be a percussion instrument. But since a lot of us have cars, they're kind of fun to, as you're driving, keep your hands up to the road and sort of drive. And play the steering wheel, which is fun. And I wanted to talk a little bit about hand drums, these things. They are basically, I think they probably pretty much became popular in the 1980s. I remember going to men's gatherings and experiencing hand drum circles. And I remember Arthur Hall, and he used to do gatherings. When I went down to the California men's gatherings, he would have drum circles. So these things have become very, very popular, even to this day. And I'd like to talk a little bit about hand drums. So here's a good example of a hand drum, kind of an older hand drum that's made by Remo, basically. And they're a lot of fun. This is just a mallet, and you can either play the hand drum with a mallet or with your hand. So I kind of like to play with both. When you're in a circle, you might want to play a simple beat like that. But when you're all by yourself, you can just play any way you want to. Now there's a lot of ways of playing a hand drum. You can strike the drum with your hand, and I'd suggest to do it fairly softly towards the edge of the drum, or the middle section of the drum, or right in the center of the drum. What I like to do is I like to sort of mix around the processes of playing. I like to play, like say this drum, which is an Indian barrel drum that I bought in Yosemite back in 1987 or 88. I like to play these sort of in between like this, so it's comfortable, and then you can play these sort of like what I've learned on as far as hand drums or kungas is you play them on the edge or the center area or the deep area. So you can play them. You can shift positions on the hands. And this allows people to dance. People that like to dance around, they can dance with that beat. And notice that my feet are keeping a sort of a steady pattern. And I'm sort of improvising over the top. So this is one example of how to play a hand drum. And when you're buying a hand drum, I have some suggestions for you. That when you walk into the store, you might want to talk to the proprietor there and say, can I play the drum for a while? Can I sort of look at it? Because you want to get to know your drum very well before you buy it, because this is something that you're going to have probably for the rest of your life. As long as being a drummer, you're always accumulating more and more drums. And so ask the proprietor, say, can I play this drum for a while? Play it a little while, smell it, because the wood smells good, and just sort of get to know your drum. See what the bottom head sounds like, see what the top head sounds like. And I think after you've played the drum for maybe an hour or two, if the proprietor lets you, and they probably will, you'll be able to choose the right drum for you. The next drum I'd like to talk about is this large Remo hand drum. Now this is a great one for making thunderous sounds if you want to make it. And as with the smaller drum which I showed you before, this one can also be played with a mallet. Isn't that fun? Or you can play it with your hand. So that's one of the several ways that you can practice and play on the Remo hand drums. Okay. This is a little djembe that I bought over at a store here in Fort Bragg, the Anansi village. And this is from Africa. And this drum, I'd say, was only about $24, $25. And it's a nice one because I like to play it at the church when I play for the congregational singing, because it's very light and easy to play. And it's a good one for traveling too. If you want to travel with a drum like this, it's a lot of fun. So similar to the Indian barrel drum, you put this here, right in between the legs here, and this to play. And these drums are great because they're well made, and they're just really very simple. And you can see it's got, I love the smell of wood. and just to play them. So this is one of the, I think, one of the economical drums that you don't have to spend a lot of money for. If you don't have money for a large, say, Western drum set, you can just have this around. It's very simple, and it's really fun to play. So there you have it. Well, welcome back to the drumland here. This is pretty much a kunga. It's a Latin American drum, and I got this from one of my students. He gave it to me as a gift, and I'd like to share it with you. That we have these are very popular drums. There's a lot of great players who played these things, and they're just really fun to play. And so I'd like to show you a little bit about what I know about the kunga, or conga. There's several ways of pronouncing it. And that is, you have, similarly to the other drums, I like to apply the kunga technique, a very simple kunga technique, which is the edge here, and the deep area, and the slap, to all the other drums that I play. Sometimes when I play a tabla, for instance, I'll play that with a kunga technique. So I like to mix these things together so that we have, so that you can sort of take the best of all the different kinds of drums, and there's all different kinds of drums around the world, tons of drums, and it's an endless study. It's something that you'll study if you want to be a spiritual drummer. It's a lifestyle, really, and so a little bit about the kunga. I think the edge is basically the edge where the head is connected to the rim of the drum, and this one is an animal skin here, I can see. There are other kungas that you can buy that I think have plastic drums, plastic synthetic heads, and they have a different sound. But this one sounds pretty good. So the slap is this. You basically let your hand fall on the drum edge, or you can lift it up fast, or you can just let it mute the drum. So that's the slap. Now the edge is when you play right on the edge of the drum. When you do this, you want to play very gingerly, I'd say, because you want to make sure that, say you're playing a long dance gig and it's a 3-hour gig and you're playing from 8 to 11, say in the evening, or 7 to 10. You'll want to play fairly light, so because if you're playing for 3 hours, you don't want your hands to. If you're playing really hard like that, you'll end up hurting your hands. So play a little bit soft. So that your hands, because your hands are your most important things in the drum. It's your hands. So you want to protect those. You want to make sure you wash your hands and keep them clean, as well as flexing your hands and warming up. Remember the flex that I showed you, shaking the hands, and Jack DeJohnette likes to do this technique. He's one of my favorites. And you want to stretch the hands. It's easier being the drummer, or on most instruments. Your hands are your most important gifts from God, so keep them well. Now, playing also with, you can shift from, they say, the edge to the D, like this, for instance. Or you can play from the deep to the edge. Now there's lots of good books on congas. I'd suggest to go to your local music store and sort of peruse those sections and see what you like, what you can find, because there's so many wonderful drums and drum books on congas out there. I just think it's just honestly a lot of fun to play and to get people to dance. That you can do with your kunga or kanga. Another thing that you can do is to play a rhythm, say, that doesn't have a basic beat. You can sort of improvise like this sort of. Hi, I thought I'd talk a little bit about this drum here. This box drum, as it's sort of popularly called, but it's also called African slit drum, really, and it's sort of a westernized version of the slit drum, because it's actually the slit drums in Africa are huge. They're 6 or 7 foot tall, and they usually have 2 plates on them. But this one is sort of a very popular little drum. I got this at the Arco Sante Festival in 1978, and I love this drum. It's really a lot of fun to play. I like to play it with mallets, sort of like this. As well as keeping a sort of a straight beat with it, you can also play rolls. Remember the rolls I showed you? You can apply those to the mallets and play around on the little this is really fun. I think this is one of my favorite drums to play, and so that's a little bit about the box drum. So you're probably wondering, what's so spiritual about drumming? I mean, you're just hitting something and you're striking these things, like this thing. What is so spiritual about drumming? Well, I believe, in God, and I think that the Creator created us to do things, and each of us has a particular role in life, and I think my life is to play the drums. That's to hit drums. That was everyone has their role, I had sort of a propensity towards drums when I was a kid, and I think the spiritual part is, how when you pray or when you're meditating, how you really get into it, you're just, it's this sort of praying for good for other people, and or meditating. Well, even playing and with your drum is a meditation, really, because you're looking at the drum. And if there wasn't a spirit in me at this time, I wouldn't be playing this. I have a body here, but I'm really not the body. The body's just a channel or a way for us to express ourselves. See, the soul can't say anything, but the soul within a body can say something. So sharing drums and playing drums is a spiritual process. And it's also a lifestyle too, because it's something that I do all the time. Like when I'm laying down in bed, let's say before bed or something, or waking up in the morning, I'll be hitting something, or I'll come up with something, and I'll play my chest or something, and I'll play the arms or something. See, so even if you don't have a drum, you can't afford a drum, your body you can use as a drum. The hands, the head, it's all a spiritual process. So that's the spiritual part of drumming. And I think there's a devotional part of prayer and praying, and I think the devotional part is the practicing, because you have to practice. You have to practice in order to become a good drummer. And the practicing can be fun too. You can spend hours and hours practicing. And I like to spend 3 or 4 hours a day when I'm not in town, praying, playing and praying, playing the drums and praying. And that feeling that you have, say you're in a really good mood, you're really happy, and just all the joy that you have when you're playing, that gets heard when you're playing. And the sound of that goes out into the universe and bounces off of all the planets, and it makes a difference, Your little sound, you may think, oh my goodness, I'm just one little person, and how can I make a difference? Well, playing the drums can make a difference. It can make people happy. And I think that's what I love to do. I think a well-played drum can be done in a comical way, it can be done in a very serious way, it can be done. It's a reflection of you, really. You see that's what the drum is, whatever you play. I think each drum has a different sort of personality, like this one is different from that one, and this one is different from that one. And so there's like a response that the drum has. And drums have their own sort of sounds, just like the plants have brains, So there's the spiritual part of drumming. Without being spirit, if you didn't have the spirit in you, you wouldn't have the drum, and therefore, because we're alive right now, and it's a joy to be alive, you can be a spiritual drummer. But remember, it takes practice and a lot of patience. Sometimes when you start drumming, when you first start, it's like, I don't sound that good, but don't give up. Continue to play, and you'll sound better and better and better and better as you play. And after a while, it'll just become very simple and sort of easy to play. But start slowly and make sure you practice. And I think if you continue to persist in your practicing, you'll achieve that spiritual drumming process. And remember, even when you first start, you're spiritual then. But all you do with the practicing, all it does is it allows you to play what you want to say with your hands. So I'm talking to you, really. Through the drum, the beautiful drum. I'd like to talk a little bit about another important part of the drums, the feet, these two things. And they're very important because when you're playing the drums, you're not only using your hands, but you're using your feet. And so they're like two other appendages that you can use to play. One little exercise that I love to do for practicing the feet is heel-toe. And it looks like this. Heel, toe, heel, toe, heel, toe. And you can do this with both feet. Heel, toe. And what this does is it flexes the muscles and gives you the flexibility to play on the bass drum, because the bass drum is very important. Without the bass drum, what would a drum set be? So the most important thing is to practice your heel-toe before actually playing. Another exercise that you can do with your feet is alternate right and left. Right, left, right. And you can start with the left, right. And you can do this in bare feet. You can do this with sandals or with boots or whatever you want to wear. Choose a shoe that's most comfortable for you. Something that you go into the shoe store and say, really take your time and buy the shoes that feel right for you. And practice your bass drum and your foot exercises. There's another exercise too when you're playing the bass drum. You want to put your heel on the bass drum pedal and your toes up towards the front of the pedal. So what you want to do is you want to press on the bass drum pedal very gently. Maybe play some quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And do the same thing with your left foot. Gently put your foot on the pedal and simple quarter notes. And those, I think, are probably the easiest exercises and simplest exercises to play on the bass drum. Hi. Sometimes when you're playing music, you might not want to play, say you're playing a ballad, a jazz ballad, and say Ella Fitzgerald is singing or Billie Holiday is singing. Well, you want to play softly. So this is the time when you can use brushes. Now these are two brushes, and basically what you can do is this The basic thing is they're using a lot of music in rock and roll, but I think they're used a lot in jazz. I've heard them a lot in jazz. So let's play an example, a simple jazz beat on the snare drum. And there's a little slang for that, and it's called mixing the salad. So that's just a little sample of playing jazz and playing soft things on your snare drum. So you might want to add another sound or tone to that, and that's the cymbal. And your cymbal is basically one way of having a sustained sound. Notice how that ring is there? The way to get a sustain on the snare is doing a roll. But the cymbal allows you to just strike it one time and it sustains. Here's a sample of how to play a jazz beat with the snare and the cymbal together. One, two. Cymbals are an important way of sustaining sound on the drums. The other way to get a sustained sound is to play a snare drum roll on the snare. But the easiest way to get a snare drum to get a sustained sound is to play it on the cymbal. Listen to how long that sustains. If you put your ear really close to it, you can still hear it vibrating. So your cymbals are like your sustain pedal on the piano for the drums. One way of making a sustain on the drums is the orchestral roll. I thought I'd demonstrate it on the snare drum for you. It sort of looks like this. This is the hi-hat, and it's a timekeeping thing. When you're playing jazz, for instance, you play it on the 2 and the 4. Like, for instance, it's an interesting contraption, really. It's basically two cymbals that are one on top of the other one, and then sort of, as you press your foot down, it makes a sound. If you press it and hard, it makes a very closed sound, sort of a choke sound. But if you push it a little bit softer, you have a sustain. And this is the other role, an important role for your foot. So playing the hi-hat is similar to playing the bass drum, but you want to, again, gently put your foot on the pedal and gently press down. I would start with slow exercises. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then slowly increase the tempo. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you can have that sustain, you see. So that's basically how the hi-hat works. I enjoy playing fun ideas with them, like for instance, maybe this one. snare drum and the hi-hat, or simply play on the hi-hat. Adding a cymbal. Case, the deck floor is the bass drum, because anything can be percussion. You can play that part of the thing, play those things. It's all percussion. And one thing I wanted to share too was that your body is a wonderful percussion instrument. Right here, you've got a heart beating at about 58 or 60 on the metronome. And it's always there. So if you can't afford a drum, play your body. I late at night when I come home sometimes from work or from town, I'll sit down and I'll lay down and listen to some Yes music and just play my chest and, play the knees and the legs and all that, So you have your own built-in natural drum, and it's the body. The Creator gave it to us during the lifetime to use, so use it, enjoy it, play drums, have fun, and just have a ball. Hi, I'm Nature, and I'm here at the wonderful Lark in the Morning store in Mendocino, and this is an absolutely beautiful Western version of an African slip drum. Sometimes when you're in a store and you're buying a drum, you might want to take a little time with the drum. I'd say 30 minutes to an hour to play it. So you might want to ask your favorite shopkeeper, is it okay, Melissa, to play the drum for a little while before I buy it?
You're welcome to try things, yes.
And after you get the consent, go ahead and play the drum. Well, I think the process for me as a musician was I always wanted to grow as a musician. I thought if I was in a band and I wasn't growing, then it was time to leave the band and find something else. I remember being in the Trend, which was this band in LA, and we played the Madame Wong's West, club. We played the Troubadour. We played all those wonderful places. But after a while, I noticed the band was changing from this progressive rock thing, which is the way it started, into this pop thing, power pop thing. And it wasn't the direction that I really wanted to go. I really wanted to go into a more progressive direction. So I kind of grew out of that band. I think that happens with a lot of, and they just got another drummer, which I had no problem with, and we're still good friends. Although I haven't seen those guys in years. They did send me a CD about 3 or 4 years ago. I think it was in '99. I think made an anthology. But starting with music, the first thing was Arvo the Mole in 1970, and we had the old reel-to-reel tape recorders. That music was pretty dark. I was listening to it the other day. Boy, we were pretty dark there. But for me, as a musician, I started going into the spiritual quality. I think it was in 1976 or 77. I started going to studying with this mystery school, the ancient Kabbalah, and studying meditation and all these things. And I think it affected the music that I wanted to play, the music that I was attracted to, and has brought me to where I am right now with Eastwind, which is pretty much just an improvising band. We don't have any charts or anything like that. We just sort of play, and we have a nice time. And I think that's one of the reasons the band's still together after all these years. Is because we don't none of us are telling each other what to do. We just respect ourselves as musicians, and we just play. And we roll tape, or right now it's not tape, but it's what, direct disc or compact disc or whatever that is, mini discs. And we take the strongest material. And this has been the longest standing band I've ever been in, and it's we're still together, and it's really a lot of fun. We just had a rehearsal a few days ago, and we've got a new record coming out called Being Happy or Happy Being, and it's our 4th CD. And this is the first commercially successful band I've ever been in, and we actually sell records, which wasn't true for many, many years. I remember being with Manuel and the Gardeners and playing Pitzer College and playing Loyola College and not selling anything at all and not getting paid for it. But one of my musician friends, Henry Leal, said, your music is valuable and it's worth something. So if you are asked to play, ask for something, something in return, if it's either a barter or some money or something, because this musician's got to eat too. It's like everyone thinks musicians, just have them play for free, but that's not really valuing the music that we're giving to you. So I think for me now, the reason I call this book A Spiritual Drummer is because I have become much more spiritual and a much more kind and generous and nice sort of spiritual person who enjoys being, meditation, and drumming, which is really for me a lifestyle more than, it's not just practicing, it's part of my life, it's who I am, it's something that's vital and important to me, and I'm sure that I'll play drums until it's time to leave the body. But here I am right now telling you that drumming's fun, and enjoy it, really get into it, and I think you'll have a lot of fun on it. What I like to do is there's times when you're playing the drums and you sit there and you're playing a beat, and all of a sudden you'll just play this, and it could be a rock beat or a bass or a jazz beat, and you're playing along with the record, you just, and you just play some little glitch or some little nuance that just sounds so in the pocket. It's just so there, and you just start smiling. I just go, and most of the time when I get up from these practice sessions, I just get up and I go, God, that was fun. And it really is. It's a great form of exercise as well. You can stay thin playing the drums, and it's just a great pastime. I love it. Well, I think the process for me as a musician was I always wanted to grow as a musician. I thought if I was in a band and I wasn't growing, then it was time to leave the band and find something else. I remember being in the Trend, which was this band in LA, and we played I guess the Madame Wong's West, club. We played the Troubadour. We played all those wonderful places. But after a while, I noticed the band was was changing from this progressive rock thing, which is the way it started, into this pop thing, power pop thing, and it wasn't the direction that I really wanted to go. I really wanted to go into a more progressive direction. So I kind of grew out of that band. I think that happens with a lot of, and they just got another drummer, which I had no problem with, and we're still good friends. Although I haven't seen those guys in years. They did send me a CD about 3 or 4 years ago. I think it was in '99. They made an anthology. But starting with music, I mean, the first thing was Arvo the Mole in 1970, and we had the old reel-to-reel tape recorders. That music was pretty dark. I was listening to it the other day. Boy, I mean, we were pretty dark there. But for me, as a musician, I started going into like the spiritual quality. I think it was in 1976 or 77. I started going to this, studying with this mystery school, the ancient Kabbalah, and studying meditation and all these things. And I think it affected the music that I wanted to play, the music that I was attracted to, and has brought me to where I am right now with East Wind, which is pretty much just an improvising band. We don't have any charts or anything like that. We just sort of play, and we have a nice time. And I think that's one of the reasons the band's still together after all these years. Is because we don't none of us are telling each other what to do. We just respect ourselves as musicians, and we just play. And we roll tape, or right now it's not tape, but it's what, direct disc or compact disc or whatever that is, mini discs. And we take the strongest material. And this has been the longest standing band I've ever been in, and we're still together, and it's really a lot of fun. We just had a rehearsal a few days ago, and we've got a new record coming out called Being Happy, or Happy Being, and it's our 4th CD. And this is the first commercially successful band I've ever been in, and we actually sell records, which wasn't true for many, many years. I mean, I remember being with Manuel and the Gardeners and playing Pitzer College and playing Loyola College and not selling anything at all and not getting paid for it. But one of my musician friends, Henry Leal, said, your music is valuable and it's worth something. So if you are asked to play, ask for something, something in return, if it's either a barter or some money or something, because this musician's got to eat too. It's like everyone thinks musicians, well, just have them play for free, but that's not really valuing the music that we're giving to you. So I think for me now, the reason I called this book A Spiritual Drummer is because I have become much more spiritual and a much more kind and generous and nice sort of spiritual person who enjoys being, meditation, and drumming, which is really for me a lifestyle more than, it's not just practicing, it's part of my life, it's who I am, it's something that's vital and important to me, and I'm sure that I'll play drums until it's time to leave the body. But here I am right now telling you that drumming's fun, and enjoy it, really get into it, and I think you'll have a lot of fun on it. What I like to do is there's times when you're playing the drums and you sit there and you're playing a beat, and all of a sudden you'll just play this, and it could be a rock beat or a bass or a jazz beat, and you're playing along with the record, and this, and you just play some little glitch or some little nuance that just sounds so in the pocket. It's just so there, and you just start smiling. I just go, and most of the time when I get up from these practice sessions, I just get up and I go, God, that was fun. you know? And it really is. It's a great form of exercise as well. You can stay thin playing the drums, and it's just a great pastime. I love it.